Hello, welcome to another edition of What the Papers Are Saying. My name is Vivian Lokko. We'll bring you the top stories that made headlines for this week in a bit. Stay with us, don't go away. And for the past week, some 4 issues have made a headline, starting with a campaign that has got everyone talking and all hands on deck for the country, and going to Afrobarometer report, the latest, revealing some interesting things from you and I, and then some tussles between some key institutions. What are the big stories? I'll be telling you in a bit. I have my guests as well who will delve into the issues. So let's go through the stories that made headlines for this week and start with that campaign I was talking about. Yes, the Ghana Rise campaign, and see how the various media outlets captured that story. Let me start with Citi Newsroom, and it says GSA, FDA to facilitate standardization, registration of local rice. Ghana Web says BNI to chase those rebagging foreign rice as local rice. Back to Citi Newsroom, and traders call on distributors to adopt competitive marketing strategies to promote local rice. We go to the Economic Times, and local rice market access. Government provides assistance. To ABC News editorial, and it says, let's promote made in Ghana goods. Back to Graphic Online to see how they capture that story, and it says, agri sector success is not true. This is coming from Sami Jemfi. Then we go to BNFT, and it says, GEPA pushes enforcement of local poultry quota system. We move away from that and go to the tussle between Lokko and the Auditor General, and go to Citi Newsroom, which says we have power to investigate Auditor General. This is Lokko speaking over there. To Graphic Online says government scheming to oust Auditor General. This is the NDC who has waded into that discussion. Back to Citi Newsroom, and it says stop hounding Domelevo and arrest Osafo Mafo over $1 million crawl payments. NDC still talking there. Citi Newsroom still there, says irresponsible NDC being partisan with Domelevo issue. This is Boabin Asamoah, speaking on the MPP's response on that matter. We go to the New Crusading Guide. It says NDC fights Domelevo. Let's move on to others and go to the Afrobarometer report and see how that story has been captured. And let's go to Citi Newsroom, which says majority of Ghanaians believe Ghana is moving in wrong direction. That is according to the latest Afrobarometer report. Let's move to another story that has been trending for about some 3 days now, the SoftTribe and GWCL tussle, and go to the Ghanaian Observer, which says national security raids IT firm over GWCL database. Let's go to the New Crusading Guide, see how they capture that as well. It says national security secures GWCL database from IT firm. Citi Newsroom says terminating contracts with SoftTribe was in national interest. This is GWCL speaking. They had a presser today, and their boss made those pronouncements. To Graphic Online, and it says SoftTribe alleges invasion of its offices by national security operatives. Let's go to Citi Newsroom again, and says national security raid on SoftTribe unacceptable. This is ex-President John Mahama speaking there. And finally, let's go to the Finder. And it says, National Security secures GWCL database from SoftTribe. So those 4 stories making headlines, some of them still making headlines for the week. Let me bring in my guests for tonight. I have Attah-Mensah. He's with Citi FM and Citi TV. I also have Selorm, Adonoo, who is head of features and articles here at Citi FM and Citi TV. Gentlemen, welcome to What the Papers Are Saying.
Thank you, Vivian.
Thank you.
Let's start with the Ghana Rice campaign, and the ambassador himself is here. We are privileged.
The ambassador.
We are privileged to our own shoes.
Diplomatic immunity and things.
So since you announced that you wanted to do this, lead the front to ensure that our consumption of local rice goes up, we've seen quite some interesting developments, positive over there. We've seen the Agric Ministry, for example, join in this campaign, announcing some major things they intend to do. We've seen the GSA, FDA, Commodities Exchange all coming in. Even the importers have joined in the fray to be part of this campaign. Great inroads you've made with what you want to do?
I think it's just a call that's way overdue. I must say, way overdue, and we just decided to do rice, and the next time maybe another.
The poultry farmers have been calling us, saying that we should tell you to also add them to the fray.
You see, the poultry is a bit more complex. The poultry is a bit more complex, I can say, and so just advocating for consumption will not solve the problem, because you see, the poultry, they don't have excess produce or products. They don't have excess, which is going waste, at least for what I know. But here we are actually try to stimulate consumption or patronage. So within the context of economic development, which is how we look at it, that if we are able to stimulate consumption, people then patronize, and then it keeps the local farmers busy, it keeps them employed, and then the cycle goes on. And when people have a taste of foreign rice or foreign alternatives, they also acquire foreign taste for rice. Now the competition between the local product and the foreign product also opens up a new competitive arena for rice merchandising or selling. That again calls for the country to pay proper attention to rice cultivation and the industry itself, how to make it more competitive. So I think it's work in progress. The Agric Ministry has responded very favorably. All the actors in the chain are excited, and I think it's a good thing. So far, so good.
So far, so good. Now, I know you are really pushing for consumption.
Yeah.
And not necessarily a ban of importation.
Not at all.
But we've seen the Agric Minister, the Deputy, announcing that 2020 they intend to ban 2022. Sorry, that's right. Ban imports of rice.
Yeah, I don't know the mandate. I don't know who mandated him. Honestly, I don't know. And it's not like I know everything. But I'm just saying that I'm still in my mind trying to process why he would be in a hurry to go and talk about banning. I mean, you know, it's a bit too early to start talking about banning. You know, really, if you ask me, you shouldn't have done that. Okay. It should not have done that. I mean, banning is not a one-sided policy. You know, you don't wake up from the ministry and throw it in the air that I will ban. No. There are national security implications, you know, because, look, we still have work to do with our local in rice industry. How to scale up the farms, how to equip our farmers, how to develop the value chain, how to develop the market, how to be competitive, within certain rice categories. Yes, we admit that the local ones are more expensive than the foreign ones, but that's not what you want. You want to be very competitive at all price points, at all customer service centers. So it's work in progress. We should concentrate on developing our local efforts, Ghana rice, until we get to that equilibrium. Because see, there's a lot more foreign imports versus, say, a third, which is accounted for by the local ones. We want to keep balancing until such a time that we will have more of local produce versus the foreign. Okay. But if we develop it, you don't have to ban anything. Because see, these companies, as were instructed by the agric minister, not instructed, advised that they should purchase local rice. If their work is just to sell rice, then the rice, we have some here. Okay. So they've been advised to buy. I think they took it in good faith. A bit of a challenge that is emerging is most of the millers have their own brand rice. You understand? So if you ask, say, a known U.S. long grain rice, which is a brand, right? Yeah. You ask the importers to buy the local produce. Do they buy and bag them as U.S. long grain rice by brand, or they bag them according to the brand of the miller? I think that's where the confusion is, But I think that if the miller has a brand, I don't know whether the brand by itself will give you any money. But if these importers decide that they will buy, I think they should be free to brand it the way they want.
Way they want it.
All we need is that the rice has to be bought.
Okay, Selorm. Yes. I hear you've instructed Madam not to bring any foreign rice to your house.
Local rice it is. I think it's been an exciting last 2 weeks. And I think what this means, like I said last week, is that leadership, I believe that leadership is cause and everything else is effect. And I made a point last week that this is the effort of just one man, and we see how it has reverberated across the country. And almost everybody involved in this enterprise is being moved one way or the other. And you can see the excitement, you can see the concurrence, people have had to this particular call. And it's just one man in some farm somewhere in Fumbisi or somewhere just tweeting,
was able to
that I've declared myself a local rice farmer, and things started happening. So it's great, and it's leadership. And I think it is important that as media houses we use our platforms to do some of these things. I was telling a colleague today that a lot of the time the media in Ghana lacks, a deliberate socioeconomic agenda. A lot of them have political agenda, but when it comes to shaping the minds and the taste of our people, a lot of the media houses or a lot of media people are really lost and don't know what they are doing. The media has a huge role to play in this. The media influences, opinions. And so if the media decides to push this in this particular way, that is what the people will be used to. And that is what the people will do, because that will be what they would know. But you see, excitement alone doesn't do it. So I'm very happy that we are leaving the stage of excitement and getting down to do the hard job. So the whole of last week, it was a lot of excitement. Everybody, excitement. But you see that it is, transitioning to where now you begin to hear more technical discussions. Now the millers are talking. They are bringing out technical issues. GSA, Ghana Standards Authority, FDA, and all those technical bodies, standards, everything. They are now talking, meaning they are having discussions. The BNI is also doing something,
people are sitting down to draw strategies.
Are now rebagging the foreign ones as local, right?
So I think somebody mentioned that. I don't think at this point we have any evidence, but some lecturer somewhere cautioned against that, and which is what has brought us into this. I forgot to say, you see, as a result of this, the intervention by the minister, the local millers have committed that they can buy an additional 300,000 metric tons from the farmers this year, within the next couple of months. So I think that's an additional. Now, if they do that, that means that next year we can have a ratio of 50 imports, 50 local for our national annual consumption, which will be a significant leap. And then I think that incrementally we'll get to the point where now the local rice becomes the first the reference point for rice consumption.
So I think it's a great call, and it's amazing how everybody is coming in line to do this. So I think it tells us that when we have a good vision, it's not so difficult to rally people around. The deputy minister, is it Mr. Nyako? Agric. I mean, he mentioned the 2022 dates because he said that when they started planting for food and jobs, they had targets. So they told themselves that in the next 5 years after, or the first 5 years of the planting for food and jobs, because it was a 5-year cycle, they gave themselves things they wanted to do. I'm not sure, I mean, if indeed rice sufficiency or being self-sufficient in rice production was part of them. But given the excitement and the way everybody's rallying around the local rice campaign, I'm sure that was one of the reasons why he said by 2022, we should be in a place to be able to ban the importation of rice. It's still very ambitious because you don't just say it, you need to put in a lot of work. Maybe he feels the work they've put in respect of the planting for food and jobs and how they are accelerating. I mean, I mean, maybe per his projections, he thinks we are able to do that.
Yeah, but Selorm, no. I mean, you can say that by 2022, importing rice will be a thing of the past.
But not to ban it.
I mean, ban is too draconian. I mean, ban how? It's not an illegal substance, to ban. I don't get it. Because, you see, I like the approach of the minister, I must say. So this is it. If you local millers say you can do 300,000, then what it means is that if we are consuming 1 million metric tons a year, then I will not give import licenses more than 700,000.
Okay.
So this is how they are trying to do a balance, and I think that's the way to go. But outright ban, I don't know.
That's
if you ban, they will still bring it in anyway.
Anyway,
through unapproved routes.
Oh yeah. I mean, what are you thinking? Tons of rice in Benin that were refused entry into Nigeria. You think they'll bury the rice?
They'll find themselves
if they can't
somewhere.
go to Nigeria, where else are they going? They'll be in Ghana.
I hope they are looking at all that.
Yeah,
Let's wrap up on this.
So the other important things that really have to happen are the storage systems and everything. And the one district, one house project is on. We really hope that they will accelerate it quickly. Some of the roads to the farms, etc., not very good. A lot of them may not be able to transport the produce to the town center or to where the millers are, etc. I think these are what we call enabling environments. And this is what I think government should be doing, or government should accelerate in doing. So I'm sure once we put all these building blocks together, I mean, in the next few years, we should be happy and we should be seeing the picture clearly in respect of where we want to be as far as local rice consumption is concerned. Okay. But we need to develop the taste, and we also need to ensure that we create the market so that our friends all around the country.
But we say we need to develop the taste. It's what we eat, the wache, all these.
What I mean is we develop the taste for local rice or eating local foods. You know, it's a mindset thing.
We are already eating.
Yeah, but
it's a mindset
taste different.
No, it doesn't. But the mere fact that you tell somebody it is local rice, puts a person in a certain mood. We need to desensitize, or we need to unlearn that
yeah,
thing.
that I agree with.
So it's a mindset thing I think we need to address.
Because rice is rice.
And the local
And I
rice
keep
is
telling
more
people,
nutritious
listen,
and
the rice you eat
healthier.
in the restaurants, the rice you eat at the chop bars, the rice most of them, the wache joints, it's local rice. That's what it is.
If you've ever been to Coconut Grove in the last
Coconut
10
Grove,
years,
they
if
always
you've
cook
eaten rice there in the last 10 years, then you actually have been eating local rice.
Local rice, yes.
So,
yes.
and did it taste any different?
No. So I mean, my reference to the taste.
No, I get it.
We get to know. So let me move to the next topic, which is the latest Afrobarometer report on citizens' approval of government economic performance, which has declined according to the new Afrobarometer study. Now, let me bring out the key findings. So it says only 3 in 10 Ghanaians, which is 30%, describe the country's economic conditions as fairly good or very good, a modest decline from 35% as compared to the 2017 figures we saw. Also, fewer than 4 in 10 say their personal living conditions are fairly good or very good. And then only 31% say the country's economic condition has improved over the past 12 months, but more than half are optimistic that things will be better or much better in 12 months. I think the key thing here is 6 in 10 Ghanaians, which is 59%, say the country is going in the wrong direction. The share of citizens who see the country as going in the right direction declined by 15 percentage points from 2017 to 35%. So, guys, very interesting findings from the latest Afrobarometer report. If we look at the issue about the wrong direction and the numbers we're seeing there, Selorm.
Yes, yes. I mean, Afrobarometer has been doing this for 20 years, and this is the 8th round. And so, my understanding is they do this quite often to give citizens, ordinary citizens, as they call them, the opportunity to state their views on various matters in the economy. So they ask similar questions. So this is the 2019 version. The last time they did it was in 2017. They did one in 2014, and it's been like that. So yes, the figures are interesting, or the findings are interesting. So for example, only 10 or only 30% describe the country's economic conditions as fairly good or very good, which is a modest decline from 35% recorded in 2017. When you look at these figures or these findings in isolation, you just take the 2019 release of these figures or these findings, you think you come to a conclusion that it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. But I think we should go beyond this and do the trend analysis, see how the same questions have been answered and what the findings have been in the previous years. So, for example, the same question about citizens' living conditions, whether they were fairly good or not. Let me start with economic conditions, fairly good or very good. So, in 2014, for example, just 14% of the population or the sample size they used said that their living conditions were fairly good or very good, just 14%. So in 2017, that figure jumped to 35%, the same question. A question about living conditions, whether it's been fairly good or, living conditions fairly good or very good. 35% said fairly good, very good, which is a huge jump from the 14% just 2-3 years ago, or at the time. Okay, so that's 35% now as a base. 2019, this figure comes to 30%. So it is, they call it modest decline. It's a decline from the 2017 figures. But it is a huge improvement, almost double of what we saw in 2014. So when you look at it in isolation, you say out of the whole country, just 30% of the people feel that their economic conditions are very good or fairly good, and it's not good enough. But if you look back and you do the analysis over the years, you see that this is actually an improvement of what we've seen over the years. Another point, citizens' living conditions. 21% in 2014 said that it was fairly good or very good. In 2017, that figure jumped to 37%. So the 2017 figure was an improvement on the 2014 figure. In 2019, the figure stays the same at 37, which means about a third of the population or more think that their living conditions are very good or fairly good. Now to the big one, about the direction. And I get a point about the rightness or wrongness of the direction, because I was in 2008, moving forward, and one person moving forward in the right direction. So the right direction has become an interesting phrase in our, social political, communication and all that. So the question so similar questions were asked in the past. And in 2014, the question elicited an answer which meant that 15%, just 15% of the population thought that the country was moving in the right direction. Just 15% thought that the country was moving in the right direction. In 2017, 50% of the population thought that the country was moving in the right direction.
Okay.
In the right direction. And now in 2017, we have just about...
2019, you mean?
In 2019, we have about 30% or about 40% of people thinking that the country is moving in the right direction. They flipped the question though. So as they flipped it, it came out that 59% say the country is moving in the wrong direction. They flipped the question. So 59%, almost 60% of the country thinks that the country is moving in the wrong direction, which means that 40%, may think that the country is moving in the right direction. It is a decline from 2017 figures, but it is a huge improvement on the 2014 figures, which is 15%. So in 2014, just 15% of the country thought that we were moving in the right direction. But 2019, about 40% of the country thinks that we are moving in the right direction. So I think we need to...
Have improved if you're comparing it to the 2014.
Yeah, so I think
but
that is...
Really, the numbers are still huge.
The numbers are still huge.
The direction.
Yes.
That
So the numbers are still huge, but you should always have... You usually will have a reference point, because I think the argument by the government on this matter, on their response, is that we're coming from a hole. So if you're coming from maybe a 10-foot hole and you're able to bring yourself up to, let's say, you come up by 8 feet, which means you are just about 2 feet, down there. It's an improvement. It may not be where...
the pace good enough?
Well, the pace is another discussion we can have, But for me, the bigger issue is the niceness of the economic figures and indicators we have. So you have almost all the economic indicators pointing in the right directions. I think what is left for government to do is to work so hard so that these figures, which are looking so good on paper, will trickle down to the real people, so that we'll feel the impact in our pockets. The finance minister talks about the fact that 12.2 billion cedis is being put in the pocket of people. I don't know whether to say it's been left in the people's pocket or it's been put in the people's pocket, because what it meant by that was that the policies of the government have, stopped parents or people from spending on things that they would otherwise have spent on. So, for example, free SHS. If you have children, you don't get to pay the fees anymore, which means that the fees you have paid would have been in your pocket, and a lot of other things like that. I think government must continue working, and they must even work harder to ensure that, we feel the goodness and the niceness of the figures of the indicators on paper. The job part of it, creating jobs, 54% thought that government could do better in terms of job creation.
Yeah, but can we say that perhaps current developments or developments we've seen for this year, for example, with regards to the banking sector cleanup and other things, have led to this kind of thoughts about government moving in the wrong directions? I mean, what do you think is accounting for people's worry about the direction that the current government is going?
I think it's the fear of the unknown. The fear of the unknown, which, as a result of what we have seen, something that is shaking the savings culture, where Ghanaians were not known to have a culture of saving. And then in the last 10, 15 years, with the, banks coming up all over the place. I think Ghanaians started doing the saving thing, and then, boom, something happens, and then suddenly people lose their money. But I think that the Afrobarometer is a good input for decision making by governments. The debate thing is just a bit artificial. You don't debate research. It's what it is. And it should be a good input for decision making. But something curious that I noticed in the Afrobarometer, now when people are interviewed and they say that they believe that the government is moving in the wrong direction, they may be seen to be saying the same thing, but the elements that account for their decision may vary. Because somebody may be saying that because they've been a victim of the banking crisis. Somebody may be saying that because they may be a victim of this Ghana rice issue. Everybody and what they have. Now again, I am not so sure if that is an indication of how people want to vote in 2020. If you go into the Afrobarometer, they asked another question: whom would you vote for if elections were held tomorrow? And if you look at that, MPP had 34%, NDC had 22%, CPP 1%, and the rest shared among the rest, So you see, in terms of ratio, yes, 59% say we don't like the direction, and yet a higher percentage
will vote for the same government they are not happy with.
So I think the government should see it as good input for decision making. These are the relationships. There's a relationship between your pocket and your revenue generator. So where you are getting the money from is one angle. And then there's a different, and then another thing is from your pocket to where you are spending the money. So the balance is what people are talking about. That there is an inequality between my pocket and where I'm spending the money, and then my pocket and where I'm getting the money from. So the rate at which I spend the money is not consistent with how I get the money.
One is taller than the other.
One is taller than the other. So if one is taller than the other, people will complain. And this is the picture of the microeconomy that we talk about. That if my effort will not earn me so much, but the least I spend will take so much away from me, people will complain.
Okay. You're watching what the papers are saying. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll look at the tussle, Lokko and Auditor General, as well as Ghana Water Company Limited and SoftTribe. Stay with us. So you're welcome back to What the Papers Are Saying. My name is Vivian Lokko. I'm here with Selorm, Adonoo and Samuel Attah-Mensah. Let's move to our next story to do with the tussle between the Economic and Organized Crime Office, Lokko, as well as the Auditor General. And back and forth for the past week or two over whether the Lokko has the right to investigate the Auditor General. Now, the Auditor General has taken the matter to court, challenging Lokko's powers to investigate him. Now, Lokko yesterday also released a statement justifying its move and going further to look at the position of the law which the Auditor General has used over the period to say why it thinks the Lokko has no right to investigate it. So two issues Lokko raised on the position of the law. First of all, it says that that the investigation by Lokko is improper, which is what the Auditor General has said. In law, as the Office of the Special Prosecutor is the sole body authorized to investigate all suspected procurement breaches. Also, that the investigation by IOCO is not competent to secure the removal from office of an Auditor General. And it says for the education of the general public, this is how it responds to those two issues. It says per Section 3 of Act 804, the functions of the office are to investigate and, on the authority of the Attorney General, prosecute serious offences. Now, the serious offences are further defined in Section 74 of Act 804 extensively and not restricted to corruption-related offences. Now, it says it should be noted that Section 79 of the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act, Act 959, is limited to corruption-related offences under the serious offences category of the IOCO Act. It does not oust the jurisdiction of IOCO from investigating other serious offences that are not necessarily of a corruption-related nature. Now, the impression that IOCO's jurisdiction is totally extinguished by Act 959 is therefore erroneous, and the public should be advised accordingly. Now, the investigation by IOCO is not aimed at the removal of an Auditor General from office. IOCO is neither seized with the power to nor interested in removing an Auditor General from office. And then it goes on and on to explain. But the contention is that we've seen in the public domain. If you look at the CSOs, for example, the statement they released is that cases related to corruption must be taken over by the special prosecutor, and then that of procurement by the PPA. So they don't see how IOCO is fitting into this investigation and all that. But you being a lawyer, from where you said, what is the position of the law independently on this matter? Selorm?
Well, I think there's a Supreme Court, there's a matter in the Supreme Court which we all think or hope will bring finality to this. The matter Wilberforce Attah-Mensah versus the Attorney General and the Auditor General. We hope that this matter will be heard and resolved quickly to bring clarity to the matter. So, given that a lot of the issues being discussed and raised, have also or are actually before the court, I think we want to be a bit circumspect in dealing with it. Indeed, the statement from the CSOs in its conclusion actually said, and I quote, "We hope the recent turn of events will not deter the Auditor General from," I think the paragraph before. Lastly, the actions of the Audit Service Board make it clear the feud between the Auditor General and the Board over the powers and role of each body. The role of each body in spite of the work of the President's Committee. I mean, hopefully this can clearly be defined by the Supreme Court in the Attah-Mensah case, seeking a number of declarations to the relationship between the Auditor General and the Audit Service Board. So that is it. But I think the matter is that the Auditor General, might have gone beyond his powers by, breaching some procurement provisions, in the sense that the allegation is that the Entity Tender Committee, which sat to approve the purchase of some cars, was not properly constituted, and that, if proven, becomes a breach. And once it's a breach, then that is a problem. There are other people who say or who have said that the Auditor General was not even around and so could not be held responsible for that. I don't know what the fact is, or I don't know what the truth is. But the point really that the civil society organizations are trying to make is that the powers to investigate corruption and bribery-related offenses have been taken away from the IOCO and given to the OSP, the Office of the Special Prosecutor. And according to them, the Parliament even went ahead to delete, from the definitions of serious offenses, bribery and corruption, which further fortifies our position that IOCO is not clothed properly to investigate this matter. And in law, capacity is more important. If you don't have capacity, then you have no business in doing anything. But another issue is both bodies, IOCO and the OSP, who people think should investigate this, maybe one of them, they both draw their powers from Article 88, which is the powers of the Attorney General. And so the argument is being raised that once they both draw their power from the same source, they could be acting on the direction of the Attorney General. I don't know how far-reaching that argument can go, but basically that is the concern. But and we've seen the NDC and other political parties wade into this. The suspicion I think the NDC had, for which it organized its press conference on Monday or so, was that there is a deliberate attempt, in their words, to hound and kick the Auditor General out of office because he appears to be fearless and he's touching certain so-called untouchable people in government. If you recall, in a few weeks ago, he surcharged the senior minister. And this man, he surcharges everybody. He surcharged Attah-Mensah and some people. They went to court to set that aside. So that is it right now. That is where we are right now. So the NDC is thinking that because the man is, touching very powerful people, as it were, there is an attempt to take him out of office. And they feel that this attempt by Iyoko to investigate him is to put a dent on him, and maybe possibly he'll be told at some point that he should step aside because he's being investigated, and that once you are being investigated and you're in office, you may interfere with the investigations. And because his office is one which is properly secured in the Constitution, just like that of the Electoral Commission, and because of how Charlotte Osei's removal from office went and everything, people think that the system may be on the way to doing something like that. Okay. So now, you've petitioned Iyoko to investigate him. They are doing that. Somebody may just send another petition to the president because an Article 72 is an Article 71 office holder, and also his conditions of service are like that of the superior, court judge, which means that you cannot just stand up one day and then move them out. There's a procedure to follow in removing them in the Constitution, the same way we saw in the Charlotte Osei case. And mind you, the Charlotte Osei case too was one which was procurement related. And the law is quite clear in Article 146 about what to do and the grounds, infirmity, incompetence, etc. And so in the case of Charlotte Osei, they said she was incompetent because her appreciation of the procurement matters was a bit weak, and that became her problem. We could see a similar thing play out like this. I think that is a concern or the suspicion other people have. The MPP or government also hit back and says that the NDC is meddling or is taking its politics to an office which has been properly secured by the Constitution. And Domelevu himself should not be happy to have the NDC speaking for it, in this manner. Indeed, he has also gone to court to vindicate his rights. So there are a number of things waiting before the court, and it will be interesting how the court rules on, all these, especially the case in the Supreme Court.
But should there be, the issues being raised by the CSOs and what Selorm has spoken about fears that things may not go right for him, he may end up like the Charlotte Osei case. Are those fears, something we should think about?
Thanks. I think this is the turn of events for me. I think it's scary because you see, and politicians would have they always have a good day if some of these things are suspected to be shrouded in some
amount of secrecy.
With some level of secrecy. And so I do not begrudge the NDC for being suspicious, and I also do not begrudge the government or Iyoko for wanting to do what they believe is their mandate. That's why the courts are there to make the final determination, and so far nobody is preventing anybody from going to court. I have full admiration for the Auditor General.
He doesn't seem to care about anybody.
I have full admiration for the Auditor General, and it will be unfortunate if indeed this is an attempt to illegitimately remove him or to force him or hound him out of his position. It will be very unfortunate. And so, but be that as it may, if the courts will be fair to all, I think they should go to court. As for the CSOs, they will talk anyway. But the other thing is that they are not court, so they can say what they want to say. But Iyoko has come out and said, look, this is it. This is what we have to do. And Auditor General said, well, then we'll go to court. when they get to court, the determination will be made, and then we'll find our level in this matter. But I just think that the politicians shouldn't be at each other's throat in this manner. Because you see, once the court determines, we will live with it. And life goes on from there, you know. And beyond that, there's nothing any political party will be able to do. I mean, don't we see things happen when people are in power? When they go to opposition, they change their story and all that. So let's see how it goes.
Okay.
Yes. So I mean, just to give some little bit of context to it. So we've seen instances or issues around the board and the board chair of the Audit Service Board, the former Auditor General himself, and his issues with Domelevo. People have said that Domelevo's appointment, and at the time it came, raised a lot of suspicions. He was one of the 3 top appointments into constitutionally, secured offices that John Mahama did in his twilight days. So one was the Shraj boss. Maybe we've not heard a lot from him because maybe he's been a bit quiet. NCC boss, Mrs. Josephine Nkrumah, she's been all over the place. She's been working so hard to help change the narrative for NCC and Domelevo. But Domelevo, given the nature of his job and how he's doing it, he appears to be stepping on a few toes. So when you look at Domelevo and on the board, you can imagine how it's going to be, given how we have debased our politics and a lot of things. So on the board of the audit service is the Auditor General and one other person from the civil service, from the head of the civil service or his representative, and the chairman and 4 other members appointed by the president, acting in consultation with the Council of State. So you have people appointed by the president, and you have somebody from the head of civil service. And if you know how these things work, not just anybody will be brought. They will purport to bring an independent person, but people will have a hand in that. So it appears Domelevo feels alone on that board, And yes, the auditor, the chairman of that board, who is all over the place, being secretary to specialized committees of cabinet and doing investigations and a lot of things. So it puts him in a very interesting position where he feels nobody trusts him, or of course nobody should trust him for him to do his work. But I think he feels uncomfortable. And given everything happening, he also tries to hit hard by threatening with his constitutionally protected office and everything.
Selorm, I'm just saying that it's neither here nor there. The law must take its course. Weren't we here in 2015 when Loretta Lamte, the Shraj boss, was kicked out? It happens. It happens. We have seen it happen over and over. But what I am just saying is that let the courts determine what is right, and then we can get on with our lives.
Okay. You're watching what the papers are saying. My name is Vivian. Look, I'm here with Attah-Mensah and Selorm Adonoo. When we come back, the other tussle we are saying, Ghana Water Company Limited and the SoftTribe. What is it about? Stay with us. So, welcome back to what the papers are saying. My name is Vivian Lokko. I'm here with Attah-Mensah and Selorm Adonoo. So there's another tussle brewing that we've seen this week between the National Security and the Ghana Water Company Limited. So SoftTribe, for example, says it invested some amount of money in the software, water billing software for Ghana Water Company Limited. Now, this contract between the two has been abrogated by Ghana Water Company Limited. SoftTribe says that abrogation will lead to some negative impact on its finances. It hasn't started really reaping from that investment it did. And it believes the termination of that contract was unfair. No proper reason was given, and they're not happy with that. Ghana Water Company, on the other side, says the termination was in the national interest, and there were too many challenges with SoftTribe's e-billing system. And SoftTribe was given some amount of time to fix it, but was finding it difficult to do so. And this was affecting the business and also affecting its customers. And then SoftTribe was failed to handle the issue properly, which they fear they will lose millions of cedis in the matter. But we saw the national security on, I think 2 days ago, going to SoftTribe to take away some, we're told, phones and laptops, etc., from the staff of SoftTribe and all that. People have questioned the way the national security went to the offices and, raided the place and took all those things. But they have justified that and all that. Right direction from the national security.
I just talked about it, moving in the right direction or moving in a certain direction. I think, so what we have seen in the last few days is that certainly things are or were not well between the two parties, that is Ghana Water Company Limited and then SoftTribe. And SoftTribe, we must say, is one of the best IT firms in the country. They do quite a lot of works. So for many of us, we only got to know about the difficulties and what was happening when Herman Chinere, who is the chairman of SoftTribe, put something on his Facebook and said, hey, I just heard national security has arrived at my office interviewing some programmers. I wonder what they are looking for. Programming lessons, maybe, or just plain intimidation attempts. This should be interesting. So, we didn't know what was happening. So following the issue started happening, coming out that SoftTribe and Ghana Water Company have some arrangements for them to develop a billing system for them. And according to the Ghana Water Company, the system was inefficient and was making them lose money. About 7 million cedis or so was lost because the system was not efficient. SoftTribe comes back to say it could not be so because the system is just about less than 1% of the total subscriber base of the water company, which had that problem with delays in bills and wrong tariffs, etc. And the other issues which were security related was that they felt that some people were hacking into their system. So SoftTribe wrote to Ghana Water Company informing them of this and suggesting to them to see if national security could come in. National security came in. They made a recommendation, according to the Ghana Water Company, that SoftTribe did not have the capacity to deliver on the contracts and things like that. So it went back and forth, and then it got this bad. So eventually, Ghana Water Company said SoftTribe was not, or had custody of its database, rightly so, because they were the people on it. They had people at Ghana Water Company who were working together with SoftTribe people. They feel they did not have access to some data. According to them, they had tried a few times to get the information. It wasn't forthcoming. So they had to send national security there to do what they had to do. So that is where we are with this. I think that when matters of contract and things happen, the courts are there. And in every contract or in every proper contract, there are avenues or there are ways you suggest in the contract for dispute resolution. You go to arbitration or you go to court, which forum, etc. I think they should have, or they should activate those provisions in the contract so we have a proper resolution of this matter. We want our water to flow. We want to pay the right tariffs, and we want to be happy. Okay. So I think between SoftTribe and Ghana Water Company, the two parties should sit down as proper entities and then solve this. If they cannot, then they elevate it to the next level for resolution.
Okay, Samuel.
Well, for me, I don't know the details, so it's difficult for me to run commentary on the real issues. I only heard the playback of the interview by the MD and then the interview by Herman Chinere. Now, while I listened to Herman, my mind was translated to another space, and I just started thinking about Huawei in America and the way China has stood with Huawei as one of their own. It's bizarre when you have a military force that kills its wounded.
We need to be writing these things down these days.
A military, an army that kills its wounded is going nowhere. And I'm saying this because I used to work in IT. And as for imported software that are redundant in their functions, there are plenty in public service. And when I say redundant, I mean that it's a software that's supposed to do 100% of a job, but in its execution, it does only 20%. And the 80% is just there, nothing happens. Or it's more functioning. Plenty. They spend huge sums of money. Hospital administration software, billing software, so and so and so. Now, if indeed SoftTribe, which is an indigenous company, is offering a service and we find faults, what's the problem? Just get them to solve it. Now, they say they've solved the problem. So what is the speed that you need to just abrogate the contract? I mean, I'm not talking about how national security went into it, because I think that is a national security issue. So if national security decides that they need to secure the database, I mean, you're a service provider, you don't own the database. That's there. I agree with national security. But beyond there, I'm saying that we have a duty to preserve SoftTribe because it's Ghanaian.
Indigenous company.
Indigenous company. Apart from Herman Chinihese, how many indigenous Ghanaians, if you take the Somwes and you take the Herman Chinihese, how many Ghanaians have been able to set up such world-class software companies? So, if we destroy SoftTribe, what do we get?
We think we gain.
What do we get as Ghanaians?
Okay.
So I think that we should look beyond the 1%, so-called 1% mistake, and get them to rectify it.
Okay.
And use a proper approach. If you want to give it to somebody else, fine. But to destroy the company with the hard-earned reputation that they've built over the last 30 years, just down the drain, I don't think we are being fair to ourselves.
Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Attah-Mensah and Selorm Adonoo. My name is Vivian Lokko. Thank you so much for joining us. Goodbye.